What's going on, all you wonderful people out there in the nation? This is your boy Sly, and with the third and final April preview stream done and out of the way, we have only to wait 6 more days, and new content will be ours! So this last preview was more of like a technical stream than the other ones were. The ones before showed off a lot of new things, features, styles, armor, skins, stuff like that. This one, however, was largely about like user information, balances, buffs, nerfs, stuff like that. A lot more technical detail. All in all, there wasn't anything drastically different or just like flat out disgusting about the changes being pushed forward. But with that said, there are still some salty Guardians out there who didn't see their critical needs addressed. I'll get to that in a minute, but if you didn't get a chance to see it, I uploaded it right here in its entirety. Check it out, guys. It is unedited in HD. Head over there, look at all of it in all of its glory. Make sure that those viewing panties are on because it is over an hour and 10 minutes long, and it's not really all that action-packed. So with that said, I wanted to give you all an overview of the key things that are being changed and fixed on April 12th. Some are great, some are questionable, but ultimately we'll have to wait once we get the DLC in our hands. Now, so there's a lot to talk about, and I'm going to try to keep these things not too overwhelmingly long or confusing, so I'm going to split it up into 2 videos. This one we're at now, as you can see, we're doing gameplay, Crucible, gear, subclasses, stuff like that. My next one will be all about weapons and their changes, so look forward to that coming tomorrow. Alright, well let's get back on track, guys. They start off by saying that their main goal this update was all about loot. More of it, easier to get, and they seem to be taking this to heart and taking it very seriously this time. They are offering us tons of ways to get our Guardians up to the new max light of 335. So in the stream, they talk about Trials dropping 335 gear, Iron Banner, and their rank packages. Speaking of that, they removed Legendary Engrams from Iron Banner drops and now are strictly replaced with Iron Banner weapons and gear only. So that means all of those random legendaries you acquired in the last Iron Banners would all be Iron Banner gear if it were April 12th, and they can drop up to 335. Court of Oryx artifacts, they go up to 335. King's Fall Hard Mode will drop to 335, and of course, Challenge of the Elders will all drop 335 gear, but they also wanted to give the solo player a little more wiggle room on ways to find and equip max light gear. Traditionally it has always been the most challenging events, like the team events, that give out the best rewards, and rightfully so. This time around, however, I think they are on the right path. There is no new raid, no real new story content, and letting everyone get in on max light gear is a good step in the right direction. With that said, the Golden Tier Trials bounties will be allowed to be turned in per day during Trials, not once a week. Those bounties will give you up to 330 gear, and Shaxx bounties will award up to 335 Crucible rewards. Also, in the normal Crucible games, you can get up to 330 gear from there as well. So there are plenty of ways to get your Guardian up to max light this time around. Next up, let's talk about some of these changes entering the Crucible. And first up on the chopping block are revives. Ever go against a team with like all alpha loopy gear, and even if you get them all down, they just run right over the dead body and get them up without even stopping, like basically instantly? Well, they are increasing the time it takes to revive with those exotics. You now have to stop and fully commit to a revive and stand there vulnerable. They have also nerfed the respawn shield you get when reviving to make things a little more interesting. Finally, the previous 5-second respawn timer is now up to 7 full seconds. On top of that, if you die again after your first time or your first death, you'll have to stack an additional 7 seconds on top of each death. So for instance, your first death is 7 seconds. Second time, 14 seconds. Third death, 21, and you can see where that keeps going. Overall, I like these changes, and the exotics will still revive you way faster than not using them at all, but it will no longer be a pretty much instant up and near invincibility to get your ass out of there. So next up, let's talk about some ammunition. Now they have removed the second heavy spawn from all matches. It will only show up one time per match in the entire Crucible period. End of story. The second fix is the Icebreaker and Sidearm exploits that give you basically free special ammo when you switch out when you die. So basically, after switching out on death or switching weapons at any time, it will deplete all of your special ammo, period, no matter when you switch out. Now, you can still use Icebreaker effectively, but it may end up being a little harder, but we'll get to that once we get on the exotics in the next video. So, moving on, us Warlocks have been singled out. Now, with the Titan having its hammer chiseled back down to size, it's time for the Warlock to give up some of their OP-ness. So the Space Wizard is seeing some nerfs, but surprisingly a few buffs as well. So y'all, let's start out with Sunsingers, by far the most used Warlock class in Destiny. Since year 1, players have been complaining about the Warlock melee and its Flame Shield. It is finally being addressed and lessened in terms of strength. The cooldown is now longer, while the other two melees, Brimstone and Solar Wind, will be seeing a buff. What kind of buff? Well, they didn't get into it and they didn't say, but the patch notes should tell us more once they are released. Like I said earlier, most Warlocks use Sunsingers for the revive ability, which is called Fireborn. In order to make the other builds more appealing, they have increased the amount of grenades available and an increase in the amount of damage Flameskin can take. It will be interesting to see exactly how much damage and if it'll be worth switching over. So, moving on to the big item in question, the Firebolt grenades. As a Warlock myself, I hate them, but to stay competitive, you pretty much have to use them if someone else is. The grenade itself isn't a big deal, but it's the combination of Touch of Flame and Viking Funeral that makes it linger and deal a lot of damage. So with that said, it is actually seeing no changes. They said because it takes 2 different nodes to spec for that kind of damage, addressing that issue would ruin the rest of the other build options for all of those nodes. This is something I've been saying all along. Those nodes count for a lot more than just those grenades. Changing both of them will pretty much ruin 9 other options. Something like that isn't very easily fixed. They said they are looking into other options, but right now there really isn't anything to do but rework an entire half of the Sunsinger build, which isn't an option, so I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. So moving on to the Stormcaller, easily the most fun subclass to use on the Warlock. Now since the focus has been lifted off of the Hunter's Quiver and the Titan's Hammers, something else needs to be blamed, and the Warlock's Lightning is that something. The Stormcaller will be seeing a couple of abilities nerfed. Landfall can no longer destroy Titan bubbles, and its blinding ability from Landfall has been significantly reduced. There is also an ability to have your Stormcaller's super draw out for a very long time, that is if you spec for it. And it turns out it's just a little too long. They have shortened the Stormcaller's super ability. They didn't say about how much, but one thing they did say is that you now have to be careful when holding down the trigger. If you simply roam around with the trigger held down, your lightning will drain very, very fast. Now you're going to have to wait to time when to use the lightning and drain it, on top of the super draining a little bit faster. That will definitely be something to get used to. Oh yeah, but guys, before I forget, the Sunsinger's Radiance has also been nerfed. I wanted to mention it earlier, but kind of too late now. It used to give you almost like 11 seconds of Radiance, but it has now been brought down to 9. That is 2 full seconds less than it used to be. Not that big a deal, but that is like an extra 3 grenades you won't be able to throw. One thing I am very excited about, and actually a class I've been using as of late, and I'm absolutely loving it, the Voidwalker. And as a subclass, it's lagging behind in terms of usage, but it is seeing a buff, and by the looks of it, an awesome one at that. Nova Bomb isn't being touched because it's just like the Striker Titan. High reward for the patient, useless for the patientless. However, the energy drain ability has been buffed tremendously. The more melees that you hit, the more grenades you throw, the faster they will be coming back. That applies to your Nova Bomb as well. I am very interested to see this new setup in action because by the looks of it, a Warlock with high discipline and spec'd out correctly will pretty much have grenades at the ready about every 10 to 15 seconds or so, and that will be an absolute game changer. And that's definitely one thing I'm looking forward to playing with on April 2nd, but that pretty much sums up everything concerning gameplay, subclasses, and the Crucible. Like I said, I will go over all of the weapon changes in detail in my next video, which by the time you see this, I'll probably already have halfway done. So keep an eye out for that, and in the very near future, it will be ready. But that's pretty much it, ladies and gents. Like I said, check this video out. It is entirely up to you if you want to watch it or not. But the whole preview stream is up in HD, and it has a lot of information. It is definitely worth a look. As always, thanks for watching, Guardians. Couldn't do this without y'all, and if you want to stay up to date on everything Destiny, The Division, and new stuff from Sly Nation, Twitter is the best place to do so. Follow at Sly Nation and be alerted to new stuff from my channel and our favorite games. I'm out, y'all. See you all in the next weapons video here very, very soon. And until next time, Nation, this is your boy Sly. Done, gone, out.
Ammo inbound. Zone B secure.